There is no better way to kick off Mental Health Month than to discuss the works of Abby Jimenez. Jimenez has written 7 different novels, and each of them cover a different aspect of mental or physical health. From infertility to anxiety, Jimenez does an excellent job at capturing the problems that thousands of people deal with and framing them in a way that is understandable. Abby does a great deal of research and even hires sensitivity editors to make sure that she's truly giving justice to these conditions. What I like about how she covers these topics is that these things do not keep her characters from falling in love or living their lives. They are a part of who they are and recognized as normal. I hope that normalizing these conditions and highlighting them in her novels gives her readers more empathy and understanding as they deal with people in their everyday lives. So let's dive into the works of Jimenez by exploring her most recent book, Just for the Summer. As always, we will evaluate the plot, explore characterization, and delve into the themes of this novel. Have you ever felt like you were cursed? Maybe nothing in your life is going the way you planned, or everyone you date comes out after dating you. In this book, the 2 main characters come together to end their curses. Each of them is cursed to date someone, and after they break up, that person finds their soulmate. So they decided if they date each other for a few weeks, when they break up, they will break each other's curses, right? They'll find their soulmate. This seems like a great idea. The plot of this book is very straightforward. There are a few flashbacks that pop up, but the transitions are easy to follow. I listened to this novel and I had no problem following the ideas presented. I would say that the surface level main conflict is breaking the curse, but it is clear after the first half of the novel that the conflict is so much deeper than that. I would say that the main conflict of this novel is how do you form and make meaningful and lasting connections. The exposition of this novel was so modern. A Reddit post. How creative. I think this is a great use of Kairos. It helps us to engage with these characters right off the bat. I also thought it was a great intro for Justin. Through Maddie's cyberstalking, we were able to learn that he's a software engineer, his friend was named Brad instead of Chad, and that he was nice and tall. I thought this was a fun and unique way to do character development. I think my favorite thing that Jimenez does is use running jokes throughout her novels. In this book, there were 3 notable running jokes. The first was the running joke between Emma and Justin, always asking each other if they're the asshole, referencing the first Reddit post that brought them together. Another was the men with J names are the worst, which is funny because 2 of the characters in this series have J names, Jacob and Justin. The other running joke is the Toilet King billboard. I think this is a perfect way to do world building and character building. The J-men joke is great because you hear it from 3 or 4 different women throughout the novel. It is like a more common knowledge passed on wisdom. This makes the world more authentic. I also loved the Toilet King billboards. They were everywhere. This billboard sounds disgusting, yet so relatable, right? This is a billboard you would see as you're driving down the highway. Using jokes to make the world more relatable yet cohesive is such a great writing tactic. Throughout the book, we see rising action while Emma and Justin are going closer. Which was your favorite date? Make sure to let me know in the comments. I liked pretty much all of them. It's clear that the instant that Justin sees Emma, he knows that she's the one for him. That is evidenced in this quote. The moment Emma came into my view, my entire world slipped into slow motion. My brain took a screenshot. I felt the moment freeze and save. She was beautiful. Isn't that quote awesome? I love that it brings in his background of being a software engineer, taking a screenshot, that techie attitude, but it also is such a beautiful moment. And I feel like we've had moments like this, and she captures that in beautiful wording. The problem is, Emma's mother being so near to Emma, and Emma's past with her mother makes it difficult for Emma to reciprocate Justin's feelings. Jimenez weaves a complicated story for both of these characters. Justin has to take care of his siblings when his mom has to go to jail for stealing money from the organization when she was working for them. Emma is working, and her mother is having a relationship with her boss, the boss that no one likes. This puts Emma and Maddie in a tenuous spot, since Emma's mother, Amber, is notoriously out of control and leaves Emma to pick up the pieces. Jimenez continues to make this an authentic story by having the characters live their day-to-day lives. They go to work. They try to fit each other in their busy lives and schedules. Much of this story is driven by the everyday lives of the characters, which makes it more relatable. As the story continues, Justin is trying to get Emma to stay because he's clearly in love with her. However, Emma keeps him at an arm's distance. She's unwilling to give up her plan of leaving since it's the life she has known and is afraid of letting people in. However, all of this changes when Emma gets sick and Justin rows the unicorn floaty to the island to take care of Emma. Precious moment. He saves her from a terrible case of the norovirus and he helps Emma when she needs it. Emma is not used to having people take care of her, or letting people close enough to take care of her. So when Justin is there for her, she's finally able to let him on her island. This seems to be a major turning point in their relationship. This scene also has some of my favorite characters in it, and I honestly didn't even realize it until I was writing this podcast a week later. Brianna and Jacob from Always Yours were the doctors that came to their rescue. I haven't read Part of Your World yet, but I can see how all three of these books are connected. Things seem to be going very well for Emma and Justin, but then Emma gets some startling information. At the beginning of the book, Maddie made Emma take a DNA test to find out if she can find more family members. It turns out that Emma has a brother and her mother had many different family members. This hits Emma hard, considering she was told by her mother that she was all alone. This leads to the climax of the novel. In the climax, Emma goes to confront her mother about her lying her whole life. It's then that Emma is able to see her mother for who she truly is, a mess that isn't willing to fix herself. Emma had given her mother so many chances and so many excuses, but this time she's done. This ends with Emma storming out on her mother and her mother burning down her lover's house. Emma tried to run away from everyone, thinking that she cannot be good for anyone because she's too broken. Maddie stops her at the airport and takes her to be with her family and heal. However, in order to do this, she has to break up with Justin. In the resolution, we see Emma after 6 months of healing. She has met with a therapist and put down roots. She gave herself a 6-month marker, and if she could go 6 months, then she would have a chat with Justin. So, 6 months to the day, she's driving in her car to see Justin when Sarah, his sister, calls and needs help because she got her first period. Emma goes to help her and then goes back to the house with her. She and Justin have a conversation where she says that she needed to have that time to heal, but she still loved him and would always be there for him. I thought this was a beautiful way to end the book. Both Emma and Justin learned to live without each other. They were able to find their new normal and then find their way back to each other. As much as we all wanted Emma to stay, it was best for both of them for Emma to have left. That way, Justin could establish a routine and make new traditions with his family. Also, Emma was allowed to do the healing she needed to do to be okay. I almost wish she would have closed with that moment instead of the 2 years later. I think the proposal was a nice way to tie everything together, but I did feel it was a bit silly. However, this is part of Jimenez's shtick. She loves to hit you with heavy topics, but also make you laugh. The books are nice and light. So this is the plot. Nothing too crazy. I loved the dual narration and the POV shifts that keeps the book interesting as well as engaging. This book is very character driven, so speaking of POVs, let's take a deeper look at our characters and why they make this book come to life. Emma is one of my favorite characters in modern literature. I would like to say that Jimenez is akin to Tolstoy in her ability to capture characters and make them real. Though their styles are very different, I would argue that the two would write similarly if they were writing in the same time period. Emma was very authentic. It must be difficult to write a romance when one of your main characters is always pulling away and doesn't want to make attachments. However, the thing that is most endearing about Emma is her empathy. Her line that she says and is repeated by Justin is, "If you can choose anger or empathy, always choose empathy. Justin, it's much healthier than anger." I love that Emma is always willing to see the best in people. This is not an easy mindset to have, but the fact that she has this mindset makes her so lovable. That is what many people say about her many times throughout the book. However, as we discover, Emma struggles from avoidant attachment relationship style because of her past trauma with her mother. She talks about having an island. There are only 2 people on her island, her mother and Maddie. She hasn't let anyone in since Maddie, and it's clear that she doesn't want to let anyone else in. This is why she keeps making excuses for Justin and her not to work. She tries to blame Maddie, but Maddie will not let her put the blame on her. It is really thanks to Maddie that Emma is a normal person at all, but we will talk about Maddie more a bit later. I think that reading about Emma helped me to understand people with avoidant attachment style better. She is too afraid of people leaving to form deep connection. I know I've seen this fear of connection with many characters I've read and many people in real life, and now I understand why it may happen. I love the stark difference between Emma and her mother. Amber is unwilling to take the steps she needs in order to change and become a real person. However, Emma wants to have strong relationships and she puts in the work to get better. It's important to remember that Emma is just a character. Just because it takes her 6 months to deal with her trauma doesn't mean that everyone deals with this trauma in the same way. If you know someone that struggles with an avoidant attachment relationship style, their trauma and struggles might be very different from Emma's. However, from reading about Emma, we can start to know these people and recognize these issues in the people we love so that we can get them help. Or, if you see yourself in Emma, you can take the steps you need to heal from your trauma. And I do not know if Emma would have taken those steps if it weren't for Justin. Let's be honest. The best thing about Justin is that he cooks. I'm just kidding. That is just one of the many great things about him. Justin is organized, caring, hardworking, a bit obstinate, but an absolute catch. I know why Emma doesn't instantly fall for him. But with all his hard work, he found a way in, which is just impressive. I love that Justin is a real person. Yes, he's nearly perfect, but he does have his flaws as well. He doesn't let things go easily, and he has a hard time understanding why people make mistakes. However, through Emma being in his life, we see him grow and change. It is great when the people we love bring out the best in us, and it is clear that both of these characters bring out the best in each other. Emma takes time to herself to become the person she needs to be for Justin and his family, and Justin learns how to empathize with others and let go of people's mistakes. This is evident by the very end of the book. Justin has taken responsibility for his family, but it also seems like he's forgiven his mother. But not only that, before he sees Emma again, he says he was thinking that he can never trust her again. But after she explains herself and is brave, he's able to see through her eyes and understand her circumstances. Justin before Emma wouldn't have been able to forgive. Amber is a hot mess. At the end of the book, in an interview, Jimenez explains Amber and why she's not able to make herself whole like Emma was. She was in a never-ending cycle of needing the attention of men and then making a mess when she felt like she was being abandoned. It is clear that she didn't finish the things she started, like the plants in the house or the roses on the wall. It is unclear what made Amber this way. Maybe there is more in part of your world, but it's sad that there are people out there like that. As a mother, it's hard to look at Amber objectively. She's not a good person, and what she did to Emma was devastating and selfish. However, this book also shows us that there are good people in the world. Maddie is an amazing best friend and sister to Emma. She is just what Emma needed in order to have any chance at having a normal life. It is clear that Maddie has done some reading about Emma's condition and is trying to help her the best she can. However, she's not a therapist. It is great that Emma finds Daniel, and she has more of a support system than one person to help her find stability. I'm also happy that Maddie finds happiness at the end of the book. She deserves to have someone take care of her after taking care of Emma for so long. It is clear that Maddie is waiting to start her life until Emma was taken care of, though it did seem like she was having fun along the way. I also love that Maddie was a fun and funny side character. She's always there to tell a joke or give an observation. The last person I wanted to discuss was Neil. As I said before, I haven't read Part of Your World, so I'm not aware of what Neil did to Alexis. However, I genuinely think that man is trying to change. Yes, he jumped headfirst into a relationship with someone who just validated his narcissistic tendencies, but he tried to get Amber the help that she needed and was very understanding. Maybe that man deserved to get his house burned down, but I do think he deserves a second chance. He seems like a man who is truly repentant and willing to do the work. And honestly, I'm a strong believer in second chances. But he probably needs to do some inward searching before he can just jump into another relationship. As I mentioned earlier, this book is very character driven. It tells us the story through the ups and downs of our main characters. And what do our main characters want? Connection or love. So let's take a look about how love is addressed in the book. Here is my very favorite quote that I think sums up the message of the book. The love story sold us the wrong thing. The best kind of love doesn't happen on moonlit walks and romantic vacations. It happens in between the folds of everyday life. It's not grand gestures that show how you feel. It's the little secret things you do to make her life better that you never tell her about. Taking the end piece of bread at the breakfast so she can have the last piece for her sandwich. When you pack her lunch. Making sure her car always has gas so she never has to stop at the pump. Telling her you're not cold. And taking your jacket off when you're in fact very, very cold. It's watching TV on a rainy Sunday while you're doing the laundry, or turning her light off when she falls asleep reading. Sharing pizza crust and laughing about something the kids did. And taking care of each other when you're sick. It isn't glamorous. It isn't all butterflies and stars in your eyes. It's real. This is the kind of love that Forever is made of. Because if it's this good when life is draining and mundane and hard, think of how wonderful it will be when the love songs are playing and the moon is out. This is very clearly laid out by both characters in the book. Love isn't in the big moments. It is making time for each other in the day-to-day of your life. When you get married, you have to live your life, go to work, have a family, do all the other things you do. You usually don't have time for the big moments anymore, but those aren't what's important. What's important is being there for each other and supporting each other in the day-to-day. Another idea about love that was repeated several times was this. Sometimes the best way to show love or be kind to someone is to meet them where they are. I think this is true of all types of love: romantic love, familial love, the love you get from your friends. Understanding this principle of meeting someone where they are can help you be in the mindset of empathy. I also love that both Justin and Emma use this line to help each other understand their mental state. From the moment they started talking, the two of them decided to be honest and vulnerable with each other. And that's difficult. But being honest with each other helped them to meet each other where they were and help them to get through difficult times. This was a great lesson that I learned in this book. What was one of your biggest takeaways? I would love to hear from you in the comments. The last quote from this subject was this: "Maybe home isn't a place. Maybe it's a person." This line might be a little cliche, but I think it was a perfect moment of clarity and understanding for Emma. Emma never really had a home. Yes, she had Maddie, but she never really felt comfortable inserting herself in Maddie's life until she met Justin and had this understanding. This quote shows Emma finding a home for herself in someone instead of constantly uprooting herself and searching for the next big adventure. This quote really shows her journey and how it's come full circle. She understands that she really needs people and that she deserves them. The last two subjects I would like to talk about go hand in hand. They are trauma and healing. At the beginning of this book, Jimenez uses the setting as a symbol for Emma's mental state. As we know, Emma says that she considers the people in her life as an island. Now, the setting, the island that they go to stay on in the middle of the lake, initially sounds amazing, right? It's in your own little space on a beach. It does sound beautiful. However, as she goes to the house, she learns that it isn't all it's cracked up to be. The house could use some TLC. It doesn't have many of the amenities and comforts that we have now. It's run down and beat up, sort of like Emma's island. Here's a quote from her: "Trauma is a crack, and all the little hard things that trickle into it would have rolled off someone else. Settle. Then, when life gets cold, that crack gets bigger, longer, deeper. It makes new breaks. You don't know how broken she was, or what she was trying to do to fill those cracks. Being broken is not an excuse for bad behavior. You still have to make good choices and to do the right thing. But it can be the reason, and sometimes understanding the reason can be what helps you heal." End quote. Like Emma's own island, the house on the island has cracks, and due to the fact that the house hasn't been lived in and loved, it needs some work. Emma too needed to work on her past trauma in order to become the person she wanted to be. Here is something I loved that Jimenez said in an interview. "In the real world, we don't really get the answers for why people are the way they are. Even when people do get answers, they are often wrong or parts of the truth. No two people are the same. We all have different experiences and brain chemistry and abilities. Amber is complex and cannot be summarized in a condition or personality disorder. Nobody can. These things can overlap and evolve, wane and wax, exacerbate by a multitude of factors, stress, and changing situations." End quote. Mental health is such a difficult topic because of what she says in that quote. Yes, we can understand people better and try to help them from learning about other people with similar symptoms, but no two people are the same. So for some people on our mental health journey, it may be a few sessions of therapy, and then they feel better. But for some people, it may take years of therapy and sometimes multiple therapists to get a proper diagnosis. I think that Jimenez's purpose in writing these books about mental health is to make us develop empathy for people who are going through their mental health journey. I love that she brings light to these issues so we can see them in our daily lives instead of just brushing them aside. She shows us that it's okay to confront these issues and seek help. Trauma is clearly an idea that is explored in this novel and its many flawed characters. However, I love that this book also covers healing. Let's start by talking about Justin's trauma. Justin has had a lovely life, but losing his father and sort of losing his mother has really taken a toll on Justin's mental health. Here is something Emma says to him about his mother. Choosing a life without them doesn't mean you stop caring about them. It just means that you can't allow them to harm you anymore. But if you don't think your life would be better without them in it, then accept that they have cracks. Try to understand how they got them and fill them with something that isn't ice. She peered at me. If you can choose anger or empathy, always choose empathy, Justin. It's just so much healthier than anger. I love this quote because I find myself being like Justin. It's easy to see the worst in people, especially when they are letting you down. However, it's important to look for why people might be acting out the way they are and understanding instead of just shutting them down and out for doing one wrong thing. Emma's healing journey was incendiary. It must have been difficult for her to just let go of Justin and begin working on herself, but she was strong, and strong enough to tell him face to face instead of just running away. I do wish we would have gotten a little bit more about what she went through during her healing time, but the fact that she was able to overcome her circumstance and start living a healthy life is a great model for people that have to do something similar. Even if she's not a real person, she was capable of making the changes she needed in order to be a whole person. And hopefully that can give other people hope that they also can do that. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I love that it's chick lit that covers more than just romance, and it's not afraid to take on heavy topics and show us that life is more than just the movies. If you love this book, you need to make sure you check out Abby Jimenez's other novels. Just for Summer is in a series of 3 other novels. These books can really be read in any order, as well as her other books. As I mentioned earlier, all of these books deal with mental health issues, and they also have the cutest romances. If you enjoyed this book, then you will love the other 2. You will also see characters from this book in the other 2 books. I'd like to leave you with one last quote. Now, I know I normally choose a quote that I haven't said before, but honestly, this quote was too good not to end with. In a world where you can choose anger or empathy, always choose empathy. This episode was written by me, Sam Gunther, and was edited by Dallin Gunther. The music was written and edited by Tom Brinton. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of According to Your English Teacher, and happy reading.